Hey everybody, good morning. It's Sonia from Profiling Manipulation. Welcome to another video. So there's been a lot going on surrounding the Quinton Simon case lately. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I am getting so annoyed with this. I just keep hearing support and people feeling bad for BJ, and I keep reading comments. It wasn't BJ's fault. Why are people blaming BJ? What have people got against her? Do you know what? So I thought, I am so frustrated, and I guess I am angry in some of the features surrounding this case, and I need to express it. And this is going to be that. So I'll give you a brief backstory. Quinton Simon was a beautiful little baby boy that was murdered by his mother, allegedly, on the 5th of October of this year. He had two siblings close in age. I believe he was the middle child. And Leilani, his 22-year-old mother, was just a waste of space. She was taking drugs, all three children to three different men, and they're all, like I said, in close age to each other. And it's not necessarily about judging. It's about, this is what is in fact in black and white. You can't say in any way, shape or form to have three children under 5. They've all got different fathers. You can't suggest in any way that sounds healthy. All right. So BJ is the grandma to Quinton and his siblings, and Leilani is the mother to those three children, Quinton and his siblings. And I cannot understand. We're just going to listen to a little bit of this, and I'm going to just have a bit of a reaction, because I don't know whether it's ignorance to generational dysfunction and generational abuse, lack of knowledge, or whether it is just people that are overlooking, that they want to overlook things or push red flags away, or dismiss toxic traits and behaviours and red flags, and just minimise and normalise things to make it okay, or to make the story as they want it to be in their mind. Now, BJ recently was charged, I think it was yesterday, she was charged with contempt of court, juvenile court. Now, when we're talking about juvenile court, over here we call it family court, where, when you're going through family court, you often have like a gag order. You're not allowed to discuss anything about what's possibly happening with the custody of your own children. So even if, say, like you split up with a guy and there's issues, you can't both agree, and you end up in family court, you're not allowed to discuss it. You're not allowed to discuss it on social media. You're not allowed to discuss it anywhere. It's all confidential. And over here, we don't have gag orders, but you're told you're gagged, basically. It may as well be like a gag order. But over there, they give out specific gag orders, and BillieJo was under one. She wasn't allowed to discuss the children or bring up their names on social media. And she has been doing that several times. I've tuned in to watch Voices Behind the Wall, and I've heard BJ on panel or on Queen Bee's channel, and she's talking about those children, or she'll start, or I've heard her talk about the other two and then stop herself, or Voices tell her, be careful what you say, or, help her along and like guide her to say, oh, maybe you shouldn't say that, or maybe say this or whatever. So I know myself, I've heard BJ referencing Quinton and referencing the other two children. She recently did a charity, she had like a charity event, and she was saying that it was in memory of Quinton. And she collected a load of toys from people that bought them and donated them, and then they've dropped them off somewhere, and those presents, those gifts, those toys are going to go to children in the community for Christmas. And she's done that in honour of Quinton Simon. Well, there you go again, bringing his name up and talking about him. Now, I don't care that she's the grandma and she should have a right to say his name. In this, where we are right now, in the middle of a what are we even in the middle of? We're in the middle of the aftermath of her daughter murdering her grandson. And if you've been told by the court you have not to mention those children, then you don't mention those children, right? It doesn't matter that you're the grandma. This isn't a normal situation. Okay, there's been a murder, there's been a baby killed. You're not allowed to mention the children. It's a simple enough rule. You can talk about those children in your home with your family or your close friends, right? But you cannot come on social media and be broadcasting or talking about those children. It's that simple. You make the choice to come on social media and keep referencing those children or Quinton, whichever is the case. So, as it stands from today, BJ is in, I don't know what you call it over there, jail, prison. But she's been told that she's going to be kept for 10 days for this contempt. And the judge has outlined specific or certain reasons of why this contempt of court charge was given to her. There was something about her wearing an earbud in the courtroom, giving, I don't know what kind of looks, but giving like side-eye looks to Leilani while they were in there, which... If you're a child of a manipulative parent, they do these weird eye glares, and you know what those eye glares mean. You know what they all mean, right? There's various ones that those types of parents, because they operate under the radar, they're covert. Okay, my mum bloody regularly spoke to us with her eyes. We knew when to run by her eyes. All right. So she's been pulled up on a few things, like I say, having the earbud in the court when you're not allowed, mentioning his name, and giving these strange looks to Leilani, which I think, from what I heard read out, were in a way to possibly trigger, or there was a message in the look, put it that way, okay? The judge is not lying. So everyone's in an uproar now because poor BillieJo has been charged with contempt. Well, it's hello, right. So do you want the law to apply or don't you? Right? So, or do you just want the law to apply to people that you don't like? All right? Because these lot, they're all in the middle of feeling sorry for BillieJo. They're all under this veil of manipulation at this point where they truly believe this grandma is, you know, wonderful, altruistic, amazing, and she's just had a really bad run of luck. She's got a son in prison for murder, and now her daughter is being charged. There's indictments, there's 19 counts, and she's possibly, you know, going to be found guilty of murder of BJ's grandchild. Now, I'm just going to get to playing it, and then I'm going to keep piping up. I'm not happy. Fucking not happy. The way things are being overlooked for BJ, I just find absolutely abhorrent. Right, check this out now. I'm not going to play this bit too long because I just find it a tool to manipulate people with. They are playing this video, showing him laughing and giggling and having fun, which just breaks your heart, that poor little baby. And they're saying, look, he was cared for, he was loved. And this already, just this is enough to get me up on my soapbox popping off. Because this proves nothing, okay? In the eyes of somebody that is a critical or an objective thinker, this proves nothing. A 60-second video of making a little baby laugh proves nothing. It proves nothing about love, care, nurture, affection, nothing. Doesn't prove anything. It's just a video of a baby laughing, okay? Let's look at BJ. She works out of state for several weeks at a time, okay? She's having issues with her daughter. She's trying to get her evicted. She's gone through the court to try and get her evicted out of the family home. There was an instance the same week, I believe, where they had gotten into a fight, BJ and Leilani. It had kind of got physical, and the police ended up at the house, and Leilani told them pretty much it's just a family argument, it's fine. I think, if I remember rightly, BJ may have slapped her, allegedly. But Leilani had told the police, you know, it's fine, whatever. So the police had left, as far as I understand it. You can correct me in the comments if I've mistaken something there. So BJ works out of state for several weeks at a time. Listen to this, right? Quinton goes to the babysitter around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, okay? So he goes to the babysitter, but she has a job. So she possibly leaves for her job at 8 or 9 o'clock. So Quinton's there at 5 o'clock. This is the arrangement that BJ put in place So he goes to the babysitter, has his breakfast or whatever, has his nappy changed and whatnot. The babysitter gives him his breakfast, hands him over to her 18-year-old daughter, and off she goes to work. Okay? The 18-year-old has got Quinton all day, right? And then when the babysitter comes back from her job, let's just estimate 4, 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. She then takes over having Quinton till around 8 o'clock at night, allegedly, possibly. And then Quinton goes back to his own house where he spends the night. And that's how Quinton spends his weeks, okay? So BJ, who was allegedly getting custody of the other 2 children on the 6th of October, and Quinton was allegedly murdered on the 5th of October, right? This is what BJ has put in place for Quinton, okay? Because she's getting custody for the other 2 kids. She knows there's that much of a problem with her daughter and these children. She's prepared at 45 to take custody of the other 2 babies, right? On the 6th. I'm not sure why Quinton isn't included in that custody battle, or I don't know those kinds of details. So she's got this care setting in place where Quinton goes to the babysitter around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and he goes back to his own home at 8 o'clock. So BJ knew, right? And as far as I know, this is Monday to Sunday. It might not include weekends, but as far as I know, this arrangement was for the whole week, okay? But people, you know, for some people a full week, they'll just say 5 days, and for other people a full week, it is the 7 days. So I don't know whether the babysitter had him on the weekends. So this baby would go back to his mother, and in that house were her boyfriend and her brother, right? So BJ is I don't know, several states away, wherever she is, working, and she works there for weeks at a time. And she's got this placement in place for Quinton. So who's raising this baby? Who's raising this baby? How long was this arrangement going to go on for? So he just gets passed from pillar to post. Get him up, haul him out of bed at 5 o'clock, which is a fucking ridiculous time to be getting up a baby, unless they are awake, right? So he's hauled out of bed at 5 o'clock, taken to the babysitter, of which where he spends all day with the babysitter's daughter, which is an 18-year-old kid. So what the fuck is this? So the babysitter goes to work at 8, 9 o'clock, and then the babysitter has baby Quinton all day, right? What the hell does an 18-year-old know about raising a baby? What the hell does an 18-year-old kid know about raising a kid? Nothing is what? Absolutely nothing, okay? And this is the long-term plan, right, to look after Quinton. That he goes to the babysitter early in the morning, she goes off to work on the days that she works, and then when she's at work, the 18-year-old daughter is with Quinton, okay? Now, these are babies. He was 20 months old. The longest amount of time your baby spends time with, like the person your baby spends the longest amount of time with, that's the person that's pretty much raising them. That's the person that's raising them, okay? So he was with the babysitter's daughter a lot of the time. A lot of the time, if we are to believe this. So BillieJo over there, right, this is how I'm going to explain how she's responsible. She knows her daughter is a complete waste of space, enough to know that she needs to fight, because CPS were involved. So CPS wanted to remove the kids. And instead of them removing the kids, she sticks her hand up. Hello, I'm over here. I'll take these 2, right? So she knows her daughter isn't considered fit to look after these 2 children. It doesn't matter that she doesn't have to have been psychic to know that Leilani would kill one of her children. When I keep hearing people say, how could BJ know what how could you ever believe that your daughter would ever kill your own grandkid? Well, I'm going to explain to you. Here's how, okay? She knew how toxic her daughter was. She knew that she was a pathological liar, because the grandfather states that in the interview with the news. She seems to like lying. No, she's a pathological liar. The babysitter confirms she had to record Leilani at times when she was flipping out, because she could make BJ believe whatever she wanted. right? So there we go. Manipulative behaviour, right? Pathological manipulative behaviour. If you're going to stand there at 22 as a mother of 3 children and pathologically lie to that point, then somebody has to record you to protect themselves. I mean, that says it all right there, what type of person she must be. Okay, so a liar, manipulative. She was known, it says in those CPS records, she had THC and cocaine in her system at the time of delivering Quinton. She tested positive regularly while she was pregnant with Quinton, right? So no regard for that baby. That baby was in being induced with cocaine. Now think about that. Think about the long-term repercussions psychologically, possibly, for that baby, okay? When he gets to 6 or 7, you know, there's all these things coming up, ADD, ADHD, other kinds of disorders. And I'm not saying they're all connected to that. That's not what I'm saying. But though taking drugs and messing with your baby's psychological state, the chemistry of the brain, it is affected in the womb. And she shows no care or concern taking bloody cocaine and having that baby inside her, high as a kite. Already we're looking at a monster, okay? A selfish monster that lies pathologically, steals money, words out of her own mother, BJ's mouth, right? She stole money, and even the brother had said that. I think that's what the fight was about in that during the week when the police came. I think she was possibly being accused of taking money out of BJ's purse, but the family have reported instances of her thieving, right? So this is the type of character we're looking at. So CPS are involved because they know she can't look after her children. So whether it was direct abuse or indirect, it was neglectful behaviour, okay? So those children were being abused. That's enough to know if CPS is involved and you're having to make arrangements for those children Monday to Sunday during the day, and they can't be with their mother the whole day because she can't be trusted, and you know she abuses them, shouts, screams, probably smacks them, hits them, neglects them, leaves them in their nappies too long, isn't feeding them, there's no regular routine of any kind, and she's getting high as a kite, out of her mind, and not looking after these children. So when you say, how could BJ know? This is how she knew, okay? Because when you know that your own kid is abusing your grandchildren, you know you've got a piece of fucking shit, okay? And any adult around those children that sees something or notices something and doesn't say anything or doesn't act on that or overlooks it or passes it off, right? You're responsible. BJ is the one responsible for setting up this arrangement where she was working several states away for several weeks at a time, and she knows that she's got this going on in her home. Her daughter, by law, because CPS goes by law, can't look after or isn't safe to be alone with her own children to the point that they're looking to remove them, right? They should have been removed a lot sooner. Why anybody that when she tested positive during her pregnancy and then when she tested positive at the birth for cocaine and THC, why she ever got to take that child is beyond me. Why she ever got the chance to take that baby home is beyond me. Right there's the problem. There is the problem. Weed, I don't agree with taking that when you're pregnant, but weed at least, because, and again, it's messing with the brain chemistry of the child. That's what it's going to mess with. It alters your mental state. It alters your physical state and makes you feel relaxed. So, but let's leave the THC to one side, okay? She was taking cocaine. What does that do to your brain, right? I have known somebody addicted to that and they had to take, what did they have to take? Because they couldn't sleep. Like it would wear off. I've never took it, so I don't know. But it would like wear off. But apparently when it wears off, you can't sleep. So a lot of people that take coke regularly, apparently they smoke a lot of weed too because something for the come down. I don't know. I've not done it. I've only ever smoked weed. But so I know someone that had to take a diazepam and then they got addicted to the diazepam. But they had to take the diazepam to come down off the coke so they were able to go to sleep. Because apparently you lie in bed and your brain's just buzzing away or something, right? So she was taking cocaine while she was pregnant. So that poor baby already is getting a shit start in life because this mother, right, can't be selfless. She's selfish. It's all about her needs. And BJ set this up. BJ has observed this child, right, being promiscuous with men, having kids. Like by baby number 2, there should have been like just a red flag plunked next to Leilani, right? Before she even had kids, all these signs were there of her being arrested and taking things out of stores. She shows a lack of respect to law and order. She doesn't respect law and order. She thinks she's entitled to take something and fuck the repercussions. She doesn't care about any consequences. She doesn't have insight, is what we're describing. We're describing a narcissistic sociopath, in my opinion. And I believe she gets it straight from that mother. That mother, in my opinion, is a covert narcissist. She is abusive. She is psychologically abusive. And she is manipulating this whole thing where she's the victim and she's the badly done to one. Oh, poor me. Woe is me. Oh my God, I loved him. I loved him. If you loved Quinton, you wouldn't have been working so far away. You'd have changed your life and got sorted there. You wouldn't have been at work. You'd have been at home looking after those children and being the one to raise them because their mother wasn't fucking fit. But guess what? BJ lost custody of her kids for 9 years. All right. She's admitted she was a prostitute. There were lots of different men. There was instability. Okay. So this generational dysfunction was going on with BJ when her children were small. Okay. And it does affect children. Children are not resilient. And we need to get rid of that phrase. It is bullshit. No, children are not resilient. They're not. It all comes back in adulthood. So they're not resilient, are they? All that stuff that they're around that you think they're being resilient to is doing shit to them and fucking them up. And in adulthood, when they finally got the understanding and the knowledge and the awareness and the inspiration and the insight to things, you can track back what fucked you up usually. You can look back through your childhood and you see specific things and they did fuck you up. And guess why they fucked you up? Because children are not resilient. They're not resilient to emotional neglect. They're not resilient to neglect in general. They're not resilient to abuse, instability, lack of routine, no discipline, no consequences. They're not resilient to all of those things. Because it comes back in adulthood with issues with mental health and drug taking to, a lot of the time, to feel better, right? To regulate yourself. Because you can't do it on your own. You think about it. If you're in a home where there's no emotional security and there's no emotional attachment to the person that's raising you, excuse me, you're, sorry, another bloody coughing fit. I've still not got rid of this. I think I've got long COVID back at this point. So you think about it. Your brain chemistry is not being stimulated by affection, by somebody sitting down and playing with you, entertaining you, loving you, being a parent to you, nurturing you. If you're missing all those things as a child because your mum is doing all this crazy stuff and she is crazy, okay, your brain chemistry isn't like a child's in a healthy home that's having regular positive interaction, that's being greeted, that's being shown affection, that's being nurtured and cared for, that there's boundaries and there's discipline, right? Discipline and boundaries are how children feel loved. And discipline, for the record, is absolutely nothing to do with hitting or slapping or any kind of physical contact. Discipline is explaining and telling them what they've done wrong, why it's wrong, and now what the repercussions of that are going to be. Period. Right? Discipline and boundaries. It's like when a child knows they can run free, there's no boundaries, and when they get into trouble, you just say, oh, well, it wasn't their fault, it was the other kid, and you keep blame shifting for your kid and normalising the bad behaviour and the poor behaviour and coddling them in that way. That is how you raise narcissists, okay? That is how you raise sociopaths. That's how you raise histrionics, right? Doing these types of things are the things that fuck us up later in life. And this generational dysfunction, BJ knew. Do you know how she knew? Because she was already in the process of arranging legal custody of the other two children. She was in the process of making sure those children spent none of their day with their own mother. She knew their own mother could not be trusted to care for those children during the day because they were being abused and neglected. And that's how she knew. That's how she knew she should never have let those children be at home with Leilani at night time, unsupervised. Okay, she can't have it both ways. I was doing my best to protect those children by making sure during the day they were with the babysitter. Okay, right. So then what happens at night time? We just ignore that she's abusive and hope for the best. That's what was going on. Right? You can't, I'm sick of this, everybody trying to pass the buck to this babysitter. They are not that woman's kids. They're not even fucking related to her, all right? They are not her children. And to keep asking her to keep having them and having them and having them, Jesus, she has those kids more than she probably sees her own at this point. And she's working a full-time job. It's fucking outrageous. How about you stop slinking off from state to state, enjoying yourself, cracking on your fucking working, right? And get in the same state as where your grandchildren need you to be. Those children, there didn't need to be any more signs from the ones I've just listed off. THC and cocaine in her system while she was pregnant. THC and cocaine in her system when she was delivering that baby. She tested positive. The CPS were involved. She was stealing. She was telling lies pathologically. She was manipulative. She was dangerous. She was neglectful. There is your fucking sign that she was never fit to be around those children. And she knew all that. BJ knew all that, and that's what makes her responsible, okay? Because she should not have been in another state. She should have been in that house looking after, making sure her grandchildren were fucking safe. To hell with a job. I don't give a shit about a job, all right? This is what is in front of you right now. Either let the court take the kids away, right? And you carry on working out of state, or get the fuck in that house and stay there and look after those children. And she didn't do that. She didn't do that. She probably did what my mum did. Once social services did get involved with the grandchildren, right, of a sibling of mine, oh, well, let me have them. And really, it's just a way for these dysfunctional matriarchs to maintain control. Oh, I'll have... So they raise a kid that's a fuck up, that isn't fit to raise their other kids. And then what they do is these narcissistic matriarchs, they get contact of the grandchildren and they continue their generational dysfunction through them while looking like the saviour to the family. Yes, I have my grandchildren. My daughter, you know, she's in a bad way. She's an addict and she struggles and she can't get off the drugs. So I'm just looking after the grandchildren and I'm going to raise them. Oh, look at me, how wonderful I am, the altruistic saviour, right? No. That's what she wants you to believe, right? She wasn't looking after those grandchildren. She was states away and working, okay? And then everyone's like, oh, well, at least she has a full-time job and she's making money. Hang on. Those children were being abused to the point that CPS were involved and wanted to remove two of them that I know of. I don't know why they weren't removing the third one. I don't understand it, okay? So all this is going on and you think BJ working states away for not even several days, for several weeks at a time was a good environment for Quinton. And then you show a fucking video of this baby laughing, right, that proves nothing. And then you show his favourite book. All this is it's to work on your empathy. Whenever you are watching people's videos and empathy keeps being triggered or empathy keeps being the subtitle, right, of the stream, it's all like making you feel bad or making you feel guilty or making you feel concerned for someone or just making you feel bad about things, right? Oh, look, this is so bad, it's so wrong. All of that is empathy that they're milking from you, right? And all BJ did, she went, I have never seen grief. Imagine the grief that you would feel, not only knowing your grandchild is deceased, but imagine the grief that you would know, knowing the details and horror of how that baby was discarded. Never mind how he was killed. She should have been in that house, because if she was fighting for custody, she fucking knew her daughter was a fuck up right there. You don't fight for custody of your own fucking child for the grandkids if you don't believe that they're a fuck up. All right? She was fighting for custody for those children. She should have let the state remove them. And I don't have a lot of good to say about CPS. They're overworked, right? So it's not necessarily the workers, some of them, yeah, but they're just overworked. The system does not work. We need an overhaul because this system is not working. Because it's all right to say, oh, some fall through the cracks. But what are we saying here when we're saying falling through the cracks? It's not like someone's just getting lost and everything's all right. No, the ones that are falling through the cracks are usually the ones that are ending up dead. That's what we're seeing, a pattern of children that have had regular contact with CPS and bad decisions have been made and children have ended up dead, sending them back to abusers. And I understand that in the foster system and even in the adoptive system, there are narcissists that adopt children, foster children, and they're abusing those children in their homes under the guise of fucking saviour. Look at me. I foster children whose parents couldn't love them. Yeah, and you're not going to love them either. You're just going to fucking abuse them. I know all that goes on. In this instance, BJ is accountable and should be held responsible for something. I don't care that the police have said so far when there's no other arrest going to be made in this murder, right? I get that. That's not what I'm saying. But she is, in part, responsible. And yes, I do think she should be charged. I think they should send a message that these narcissistic matriarchs, the primary abusers of these households, the primary deliverer of all this dysfunction, they should stand to be charged too. So they should be charged. Because she had the presence of mind to put in place this huge care plan for during the week for Quinton, right? But then at night time, where was the care plan? And don't anybody say to me, the babysitter was supposed to keep them. She had an errand. She had to take them back. A, B, C, D, E, whatever. All right? BJ is in this instance, she's put herself in this position. She is being the primary carer of Quinton and those children because she knows her daughter isn't suitable for the job. All right? So she puts all these things in place. She knows her daughters are manipulative. She knows she's abusive. She knows she gets violent. She knows she lies, right? She knows she steals things. She knows she can't follow the law. You know, she's always dating different guys, right? That's how she knew. All of those things that have been talked about, that's how she knew she couldn't trust her daughter around a kid. She was unpredictable. She had no empathy. She didn't care what she did, and she was all about herself. That's how she knew not to leave her daughter with her own kids. That's how she knew.
But this family and Quentin's other loved ones and aunts, uncles, Nana, Grandpa, there is no way in hell that they could have saw this coming, what happened. There's no way.
I have just explained to you how they could have known and how they did know, because those children were already abused. If you know children, and this is where CPS fucking pissed me off because they left those children in that home far too long. If you know that your daughter's abusing your grandkids, that's how you know, okay? That's how you know. You don't need to know that they're going to fucking end up dead. Knowing they're being abused should be enough. Knowing they're being abused should have been enough that she never left those kids with that woman, right, unsupervised for a minute. That's how she knew. So stop this gaslighting bullshit. How could BJ know? So it was all right if Leilani was just abusing them, right? But how am I supposed to know she would end up killing one? Have you any idea how ridiculous, dense, stupid, infantile and ridiculous you sound saying that? She knew they were being abused. Therefore, she should never have been left alone with them for a minute. BJ's job is not an excuse. She should have left her job and took charge of being the primary carer morning, noon and night, like any other standing parent, guardian of a child. All right. A job isn't I've got to work away. No, you don't. Finish your job. Get in that house. Find out whatever benefits or whatever the fucking law is or whatever it is. Find a local job, right? Cleaning bloody toilets if need be, right? Taking trolleys back from the car park back to the store when people just like do whatever. Work at a supermarket, whatever. You don't need to keep working over there. If you've got to cut down your home life, if you've got to like give up things, you've got to give up things. That's the choice you make when you decided to take on somebody else's children. You knew your life wasn't kid friendly, right? When you decided to fight for custody for the other two, or when you were being warned and told and advised, this is happening, she's not doing this, there's another visit from CPS, you know all that was going on, right? So that's when you think to yourself, BJ, I can't be working away, I need to be here. And then you fucking downsize your life to accommodate the fucking responsibility you decided to take on. Not this half a job bullshit that you've pulled off. You are responsible, BJ. You are in part responsible for your non-action that led to Quinton's murder by your daughter. All right? You are in part responsible. You don't leave a child that you know is being abused with anyone just because, and especially you don't just say, but it's my daughter. Right, all right, so we're going to overlook that your daughter's an abuser because it's your daughter. Well, okay, we're not going to class her as an abuser because it's my daughter. It's my daughter. She's seen the progression of the monster that Leilani became because she's been the closest one around her. Okay, so she's seen these traits start in childhood because manipulation is learnt in childhood. And what happens is we either get caught and shown and disciplined not to do those things because they're not healthy. You're not allowed to do them, right? Growing up, like, don't tell lies. That's a manipulation. So this, like, Leilani didn't just wake up one morning as an abuser, as a manipulator, as a pathological liar, as a thief, as somebody that doesn't respect the law, right? She has learned those behaviours from her mother's dysfunction. And along the way, her mother, instead of getting healthy because she's toxic herself, she's narcissistic, right? Instead of getting healthy and raising healthy children, she raised them in this dysfunction, okay? So when Leilani would lie, or the kids would fight, or she would triangulate one against the other, or whatever was going on, she overlooked all those traits that Leilani was developing, right? And Leilani, this is how manipulation works for a kid. A kid will use manipulation if it works for them and they get away with it, right? So there has to be a parent there letting them get away with it, okay? And overlooking and pretending they don't see the lies or the manipulate. Because you can tell when a kid's being manipulative. You can tell when your own kid's lying. The kid that you've carried in your stomach for 9 months. There's that weird closeness bond thing where you just know. I know when my kids are lying to me or trying to have me on about something. I know, right? It's just this, you just know. Right? And because you've watched every move they make from them coming out of you, coming out of your womb, you've watched every single move they make, how they rub their eyes, how they pick their nose, how they rub their ears, they smooth their hair down, they straighten the clothes. You've observed them telling you stories about how school was, preschool, about what their friends did, about naughty kids in class, about the favourite teacher. You have all these instances, right? And moments in time, and you learn their behaviours. It just happens because you're so close, right? So you know when they're lying because you've heard them tell the truth 1,000,000 times, and then you learn then that you know when they're lying. You know when they're being manipulative. You know when they're trying to get one over the other. When one will go to dad, dad says no, so they go to mum because they know mum says yeah. That's manipulation. Leilani has picked up those traits from the person that raised her, and they were allowed to flourish and thrive. That's how it got to this point. It didn't just happen. Leilani didn't just wake up. That's why I hold her responsible even more so, right, for this generational dysfunction that she's passed down. She hasn't ever got healthy. She's still toxic herself. And that's what I was saying. Where the hell has the grief been? The amount of time she's been on panel, where has the grief been that you would have knowing, because I've had grief and this baby is connected to me in no way, shape or form. I haven't got too attached to the case. It's obviously heinous. It's heartbreaking. Who wouldn't tear up reading about what happened to this baby? So, and this is the grandparent. And all I've heard her do is fake cry and rant and rave about how none of this is her fault. It's bullshit. She's the matriarch of all of it. I don't understand where you're all looking. She set this arrangement in place. So if she knew her own daughter couldn't have contact with her own children from 5 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. at night, or whatever the times were, if she knew her own daughter could not be in charge of those children during those hours, what the fuck was going on at night time? And don't somebody tell me blame the babysitter, all right? Because that babysitter, she can't just keep having 3 bloody kids under the age of 5 under her feet, right? When she has her own family and her own job. And the fact that she kept saying yes to doing it, right, and keep having them, doesn't mean you can completely just keep taking advantage of that woman and just dumping those kids there. Because that's who was raising Quinton. The people in that household were the people that were raising Quinton, because it certainly wasn't their grandma. She got custody of those kids, okay, so they didn't go into the system, but she had no intention of keeping her daughter away from them, all right? And we know this from the plan. If she was being given custody on the 6th, right, what was going to happen to her job on the 6th then? What was she going to do about her job? She works her way out of state, doesn't she? So when she collected custody on the 6th of October, to anybody, share it in the comments. What the fuck arrangements had she made to be able to live and survive, have money in her pocket, and be looking after those children full time? That'd be an interesting answer, wouldn't it? Somebody ask BillieJo next time she's on a panel. If she knew she was getting custody of those children on the 6th of October, what arrangements had she made then? Okay, because they keep trying to use this argument that this was a temporary arrangement with the babysitter, having them Monday to Sunday or Monday to Friday, whichever one it was, right? Because BJ works out of state and Leilani can't be trusted with her own kids, so I need you to have them, babysitter, right? I need you to have them all day, all evening, way into the night till 8 o'clock at night. I need you to have them, right? And then at night time they go home. So, what was that arrangement going to carry on from the 6th of October when she got official custody for the other 2? Because she was going to be out of state, so she couldn't take the 2 with her for a job. So what was going to happen to the other 2 on the 6th then, when this officially came into play? What arrangements had BJ... I'd love to know this answer. Had she resigned from her job? Had she given in her notice? Had she found a preschool or a proper nursery or a proper place to send those children? Because just being a babysitter, like how Diana was, those types of people are like part-time. You don't just dump your kids there all week. And you think that isn't a proper setting for children that are already going through a lot at home. They should have been in a decent preschool, a nursery, where there are professionals, qualified for the job. There's nothing to say that this 18-year-old daughter of the babysitters, little babies like that at 20 months old, they're inquisitive, they're on the move, they're curious, they're moody, they're teething and things like that, right? Injections or whatever, okay? They should have been with their mother, or they should have been with a family member that was nurturing them. They shouldn't have been dumped with an 18-year-old and the 18-year-old's mother. It's outrageous. So, all right, you want to excuse all that. That was just the arrangement BJ had in place. It was the babysitter's fault. Okay, so what was the arrangement going to be from the 6th of October when she got official custody? Was she done? Had she handed in a notice, found a job closer to home, found less hours, found arrangements for where those children were going to go? This whole thing is just and then they get a call There's a call in the stream where I believe it's BJ's sister or BJ's friend, and she's speaking on behalf, and she's saying, I lived with BJ and I looked after Quinton, because even BJ said to me, he's going to think you're his mother. So do you know what? This baby, fuck my life. This baby, how many people did it have looking after it? How many people did he have looking after him? How many people did he have looking after him? Because there's a woman there claiming that he's mine, he was mine. They're all saying this, he was mine, right? It's just so fake, toxic, dysfunctional. So I can tell listening to this woman on the phone that she's all histrionic, okay? She turns on this cry voice, and as quick as she's turned it off, she turns on the rage voice. Then she's back to crying. Feel sorry for me, empathy. Nowhere, BJ nor this friend that gets on the call, nowhere do I hear them. I just don't hear anything authentic. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Nothing is authentic. It's all fabricated, histrionic, manipulative, pathological lying. All right? The same type of lying that Leilani knows how to do now, thanks to the courtesy of her mother. And whoever that woman was, I'm sure she said BJ's sister. There's just a whole, it's just a whole toxic, dysfunctional family. You can hear it within them. I can't believe, does it just go over your heads? So there's a woman there screaming, he was mine. He could have thought I was his mum. Right, so, all right. So you've looked after this baby then for a period of time. There's an 18-year-old a few doors down. She looks after him during the day. And a mother, when her mother's not at work, then he's with the mother. Right? So this kid was 20 months old. How many fucking people did he have supposed to be looking after him? And they're all here now claiming, all right, he was my baby, because they all want to be validated and given the attention because this tragedy's happened, right? So they think by saying, oh, he was my baby means, you deserve more of our condolences, more of our sadness and apologies and grief that this happened. We feel so bad for you. We're so sorry, right? It's all about milking all of that. You can't be that blind that you miss it. You really can't. You can hear the fakeness in her voice. She just makes all these weird noises, acts histrionic, which you all know what histrionic is now, okay? And then as quick as she's done that, she's in a rageful voice. You can tell, listening to that person, that is not genuine crying. And that's all I've heard BJ do as well. Rant and talk about things that make her sound better than what she is. That's it. Make her sound better than what she is. That's all I've heard. She works her way out of state. So there's a sister. Apparently the sister, it was like Quinton was around her that much. Somebody said, he's going to end up thinking you're his mum. So where was Leilani? So just the instability. This is how, right? This dysfunction, trauma, how codependency, narcissistic, sociopathic, histrionic, BPD especially, because that has been linked to trauma going back to some children being as young as 3 years old, right? And trauma's bad anyway, bad, especially for children. But you think how bad the trauma must be that the self inside kind of like splits and a false self steps forward to be the human in front of you, okay? The trauma's that bad, the real you kind of thing has just recoiled and gone, and there's just this shell left at the front that is the functioning human being that we have to deal with. A lot of trauma damages children tremendously, and these types of behaviours, right? These types of like neglect, instability, being passed around, there's no regular routine, there's no discipline, there's no boundaries, there's no regular meal times, there's no regular bedtime and bath time and story time. There aren't those caring, nurturing things. There aren't times when mum sits down to play, right? And we have a silly picnic outside in the garden. Sweet, cute things that you do with your kids, right? He experienced, like, Quinton was just, what's that phrase I'm looking for? Like, he never had a chance. That's the phrase. It was something so simple. You think it was something, like a great big quote I needed, but no. But yeah, he never had it. He never stood a chance. He was being induced with cocaine and THC in the womb. That was in his system, and on delivery, she continued to take it whenever she was tested. She was lying, stealing, fighting. She hadn't provided them their own place to live. She was back at her mum's, right? Different boyfriends, siblings, just all around fuckery. And this dysfunction is passed down. This is how it's passed down. And you're all overlooking it all as, oh, this is normal. This is one of the most, well, God, there's so many, but this is one of the most tragic, most black and white cases ever, where you can clearly see the dysfunction and how it's passed down and where it's coming from. And it's BJ. BJ is the matriarch, the narcissistic matriarch in control of that family. Okay? Her other son was wanting to join a gang. If we get into the whole psychology of that, what draws young boys to gangs, it's often the family loyalty ideas that pull them in. And do you know what? Very often, they're not getting that at home. They're not getting healthy discipline. They don't feel loved, right? And they don't feel like they have anyone else in the world apart from joining a gang, and that's what's going to be their family. Okay? They're going to give them loyalty. They're going to give them love. So that's where her other son was. He ends up killing someone. He ends up in prison, right? And now you've got this daughter here. There's already been we've already heard, manipulative, liar, breaks the law, takes drugs, steals money out of mum's purse. There's all this shit going on. That's how she knew. You don't need to specifically know, oh, my daughter might kill my kid, or my daughter is one that may kill my grandkid, so I need to be on guard. The abuse was bad enough. That's the point you're all missing. You think that there had to be what? What? Did you have to make several attempts on his life before you were going to get it? What do you think the abuse is? Abuse is the several attempts on your life. Because you know why abusers abuse? Okay? They abuse to destroy you. They abuse to end you. All right? They abuse to end you. That's why they abuse. They don't abuse because at one point they want you to be happy, healthy, grow, flourish, and take off and have a wonderful life. They abuse to end you. They abuse to destroy you. What other fucking sign do you need? If someone's abusing you, they're doing it to destroy you. Okay, in simple English. Nobody needed to say to her, oh, hang on a minute, Mrs. BJ, there might be a risk that your daughter kills one of the kids. So could you just keep an eye on that for us? Could you keep an eye on it? Fucking stupid.
So sweet.
Come on, get to where we need to be. Bloody talk. Just not in the mood, me. This shit makes me so angry. Yeah, oh, look. Oh, yeah.
Precious, right?
We'll show from pictures.
That's what he will be.
That's proof we cared.
I'll say gifted to the Lord in, because I hate how this is all sounding. He was thrown away like trash, okay? So I want to find better ways of saying things, because look at him. Look at him.
He's beautiful. He's beautiful. All right.
This is the real life stuff we're dealing with behind the scenes. Instead of just getting on a keyboard and talking shit about a situation that...
I'm not talking shit. That baby had adults around, several adults around. All right? Pick one of them. Pick Leilani's brother. He was in the house. Pick Leilani's boyfriend. He was in the house. Pick Leilani's mother. She was in the house. Right? So there's all these adults in his immediate family. Okay? And not one of them protected him. Okay? It falls to being the babysitter's fault in your eyes. Sure. All right? In some way, shape or form, you managed to label him at that babysitter's feet. Okay, so there's all the adults in the house. Well, let me tell you this, right? When there is a child, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if there's a child in the street or the child in your home or your friend's child that they've dropped off and you're going to be looking after, right? If you see abuse or you know something, right, or you've heard something, it's your responsibility to act on it, okay? It's your responsibility to act on it, to report it, to do something about it. Okay? So, we'll just excuse her brother, we'll excuse the boyfriend, we'll excuse BJ, but hey ho, we'll blame the babysitter because she's given interviews. We're accusing her of changing the story. To my mind, she's the only stability he had, because his uncle, Leilani's brother, well, he wasn't protecting him, was he? Was he? The boyfriend wasn't protecting him, was he? Was he? Because if they were protecting him, she wouldn't have had a chance to do what she was doing, what she ended up doing, murdering him. All right, while BJ states away. Working. I've got to work. Have you? Have you? Really? Well, then let the state take these children and find them a home where they're going to be looked after 24/7. Instead of passed around from pillar to post.
You're just taking little bits of and thinking you're knowing everything. This is real life. Very amazing.
That isn't real life. It's a goddamn photograph, right? Showing the best bits. That's it. Showing a grandma with a smiling face. Really? The same grandma that worked states away for weeks on end and left these children with their abuser, right? An abuser, okay, that she knew she needed to get the kids removed from and have custody herself because they weren't safe, okay? Yeah, nice smiling face, grandma. Nice smiling face.
It does happen for baby Quinton.
That child, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, right now I am showing you what his casket.
And she created the monster her daughter is by passing down her own dysfunction and not getting healthy before she had her children. She had her own children removed for 9 years, which says a lot in itself, doesn't it? Okay? Or were they wrong when they removed BJ's children? Were they wrong? What's the excuse going to be? It wasn't BJ's fault. She was an addict. She was trying to get clean. She couldn't help it. She had trauma. Bullshit.
Which is done. It's ready to be sent. Okay? Beautiful, beautiful work. But unfortunately, this is the truth of what's happening and what, I'm trying to remind people here.
That is not the truth of what is happening, for God's sake. That shows a baby, photographs, and Paw Patrol. That's not what's happening. Leilani, you sprung live the second everybody started talking about Leilani getting indicted with 19 counts, 19 charges. That's when you sprung into action. All right? That picture is meaningless. It is meaningless in the grand scheme of how all this has unfolded. All right? It's meaningless in the face of his death and what happened to him. Okay? You are manipulating your audience, using empathy. Look how cute he was. Look how cute he was with his grandma. His grandma really cared. Did she? That's why she was working states away while she knew a dangerous abuser that wasn't protecting her children was looking after her grandchildren. Yeah? Carry on. Making everyone feel bad.
Sad that I'm showing you this.
Look at grandma. Look at her. Look at grandma.
And I don't even know what to say to y'all. Y'all seen already what the charges are. Are we shocked? I'm not really shocked. I mean, I wasn't expecting everything, but I mean, there's so many questions.
What that sociopath did. All right. She did what she did to him, ended his life, killed him, murdered him, right? Annihilated him, a 20-month-old baby boy. That she says, oh, well, I never bonded with Quinton like I bonded with the others. No, that's not what was going on, Leilani. Okay? You're a sociopath. You're narcissistic. You had favourites. You had the forgotten children. And then you had the child that was the scapegoat. The one that you didn't like. The one that took the blame for everything. And that was, in your family, Quinton. Okay? Just like it was me in my family. And my youngest sibling was the forgotten lost child that never got nothing. Right? She's just completely overlooked all the time. It was left to me to fend for her and me. Right? Middle child in our family was golden child. And by me saying she was golden child, that does not mean that the golden child is not abused. The golden child is abused. Probably not as much as the rest of the children, but they're still abused heinously in a really sick way. They're still abused. Even though they're the favoured one, they're still abused. It doesn't mean that they're not abused. That's all I just want to make clear. All right. So, no, we've heard those stories and that bullshit. Okay. She didn't bond with Quinton. No, Quinton was the scapegoat. All right. Quinton was the one that was blamed when she got angry or pissed off. it was always his fault. And for me, now that he's ended up in this way, passed on, there you go. There you go. She hated that child, and that evil, evil, evil woman drove his dead body. Well, you know, we don't even know. Like, lots of times people think someone's dead and they're not. All right, because the pulse goes that slow, or there can still be brain activity, and somebody really can seem like they're dead. Okay, so we don't even know that he was dead. This is the most, like, I can't get that out of my head. So she drives the baby's dead body, 20-month-old. That baby then that was just on that Paw Patrol thing, she drives him to what we call a skip, a dumpster, outside a building, and she puts him in it, and she goes back and sits in a car, and according to the indictment, she sits in a car and waits for the dump truck to come, right, the rubbish men to come, empty that skip, that dumpster, into the back of their truck, and once the truck's gone and emptied the skip, the dumpster, then, and only then, does she drive off. And then comes home and tries to spin a story about he was abducted. How sociopathic do you have to be that you watch your freaking baby go in the back of a dumpster and get crushed? Oh my God. I mean, he could have still been alive. He could have woke up. You wouldn't have heard him for the noise, even if he did. She deserves death row. She deserves death row. And the monster that raised her should be held accountable for her lack of action in protecting that baby. All right? And her lack of action was working out of state, not choosing a job closer to where she lives, not choosing a job that can be combined with looking after little children. All right? That's her non-action. She knew her daughter was hurting her own children. She didn't need a fucking slip to say your kid might kill your grandkid. To know. When somebody's abusing someone, they're not doing it to make them happy in the end. All right? They're doing it to fucking destroy them or drive them to hurt and kill themselves. That's what abusers do. What year are we in when this is not understood or common knowledge?
And, well, Billie ain't even here or able to say anything. But shit, I'm curious, like, why is it that, how do I say it? Why is it that the surviving children would be possibly getting adopted to a foster home that's not even any blood relation to them? How is that even an option? I'm just going to say what my opinion is from guessing from, I don't know.
Blame the other side of the family, the dad's side of the family of these children. All right. Now, I've already said to you, all three kids have different dads.
My friendship and hearing things, I'm just going to say what my opinion is from me guessing from, I don't know, my friendship and hearing things that I hear or whatever, as I'm trying to word things.
You don't have a friendship with a woman that's 45 years old that in October, we're in December now, you don't have a friendship with someone that you've only known since October. Okay, this is still somebody that you know whose daughter is responsible for the murder of a child. There's no friendship, okay? And if you're working as a life coach, you should be careful of keeping clear boundaries, all right? You are choosing to connect with someone that is in even though she's toxic, right? This is a hypersensitive situation. This is only a time that somebody predatory would swoop in and want to be the saviour or the number one to the person going through this kind of an experience. Like that or don't. I don't care.
Carefully. I don't even know that, let's say, Mr. Danny Youngkin has even put in to even try and see his baby girl. I don't even know if Bubba's even tried to see his son.
This is not about those other men and those children. You have no way of knowing that because it is confidential and there are gag orders. All right? And I don't care what BJ has told you. BJ is a pathological liar too. All right? That's where Leilani learnt it from. It was overlooked when she started lying as a kid and it gradually got worse and worse and worse and worse. All right? And BJ knows that because BJ lies too. She too is a pathological liar.
Forgive me. I forgot, so forgive me. But well, I don't know who's the other one's father. But anyways, all I'm saying is I've only heard of like other family members fighting for these kids even now. Like, I don't understand. How would it be even an option? Because if I'm not mistaken, I've overheard a conversation that had me believe I thought I heard something about a foster family was wanting to adopt the kids now. So I don't know. That to me is kind of weird. Like, so did
you just say something like that, sure? This is your manipulation at play here. I just happened to overhear a conversation, possibly about the kids being adopted to somebody not related to them. You just happened to overhear that, really, did you? Did you? Because that sounds like pertinent, private information that shouldn't be being released about those children. Those children should be protected, and I'll tell you for why. Because all this horror and heinous shit that happens to them, right, it should be kept where other people can't get access to it. Then we can't all go looking up what kind of traumas happen to other adults in their childhood and be using it against them or to slander them or to harass or bully them like people do. It's imperative that everything in that juvenile court, family court, stays private and nobody speaks on it. And here you are claiming that you accidentally kind of overheard such a detailed conversation, right, that was talking about foster families being involved with the other children rather than their own blood. Yeah, you kind of just overheard that. Lies. This is lies.
Other families try to. Can they not? Why can't they? Are they not fit families? Like, do you guys understand what
It's not your business. And when you're going to say, do you understand what I'm putting down here? Yeah, I do understand what you're putting down here. You want us to look at the other families, the father's families, right, and somehow blame shift, or you're using misdirection so we concentrate on them, right? They might be waste of space pieces of shit fathers. They might be. And if they are, it's very likely that someone in the family is, because they don't just get this way on their own. All these people walking around that are toxic didn't just wake up one day and decide to become toxic. It's passed down. It's generational dysfunction, okay? And we either choose to get healthy when we reach adulthood by recognizing it, realizing it, and having the self-awareness, or we continue passing it on and expressing it and being that way, being toxic. The fathers are irrelevant. Sure.
saying here or trying to say? I could be very wrong. Maybe I heard wrong. Like I said, I wasn't told anything. I've been on the phone a lot and many people talking where the phone gets
wait, I wasn't told anything. Oh, I can't believe she says this and just gets away with it. And I can't believe he sits there and lets it fly. I wasn't told anything, but I heard something because phones are being passed around all over. Listen to this. Let's listen to this. And
around like a hot potato. And
hang on.
Like I said, I wasn't told anything. I've been on the phone a lot and many people talking where the phone gets passed around like a hot potato. And it's
I've been on the phone a lot, many people talking, and the phone gets passed around a lot. So you've been on the phone a lot, the phone gets passed around a lot. I don't want to get the last bit wrong.
I've heard some things that make me wonder, well, I've been on the phone a lot and many people talking where the phone gets passed around like a hot potato. And it's
the phone gets passed around. Well, BJ's been in jail for 2 days, so it must have been before that. So there's been many people talking. I can't believe she's saying this. And the phone's been being passed around like a hot potato. Well, your phone or their phone? Because there's only you and Mark there. So do I assume that it was the other people, whoever you're on a 2 or 3, 4, 5-way call with, this phone was just being passed around and everybody was talking and sharing and disclosing private information with you, a YouTuber that they have only known since October, and we're in the beginning of December.
So yeah, I've heard some things.
This woman is the last person that should be around vulnerable people, okay? This is not an advocate and this is definitely not a life coach. The information that she is covertly letting out here is absolutely fucking wrong. And BJ herself is a fool to trust her.
And you wonder, well, damn, so is the other sides of the family not fit enough to parent either? What is going on? Are we still supposed to believe after today? Did Leilani act alone? I don't know. Should we pull it up? Do you guys want to see it again, hear it again? Because I kind of don't, but I'll pull it up if we want to go through. If you guys have questions, I'll answer, but I think you guys kind of understand. Like, I'm seeing still so much problems with, like, what the freak? If I'm correct, and I did overhear a conversation about a foster family.
She is creating this, right, as though she bears some kind of importance to this story, to this storyline. Well, first off, it isn't a bloody storyline. There's a child been murdered. Right? Oh, what's Cleo doing? I can't tell if someone's going to knock. Or is it someone just going past? What are you doing? What are you doing? You watching out for our house? Standing guard? I think it's someone just going past. So, I forgot what I was saying now. She knows what she's doing here. And I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe a word of it. The boys, the husbands, the boyfriends, the fathers, whatever they are irrelevant here, okay? Knowing, who was there around the time Quinton died, I can understand how that's pertinent, that's important. Oh dear, hang